complement of cannons.
Howdy, howdy. We're doing a 15 Dawnbreaker, just in a pug, just trying to reroll my key that I have. We're going to talk through mostly the bosses I want to talk about, because I think I did a how to heal Dawnbreaker bosses at the start of the season. But now that I've done it a bunch more times and on higher keys and stuff, I have a better understanding of, other things to talk about as well. So that's what we're going to focus on. Still talk about the trash and stuff as we're doing it, but mostly going to focus my attention on the bosses. These Ritualist packs, as a healer in general, you need to be watching for who gets targeted by the Tormenting Ray. There'll always be 2 players that get targeted. You just want to help heal them as much as possible. As a Disc Priest, you kind of just, every time Tormenting Ray is happening, you just cast a Radiance, and then spam smites, or use a pet, or, use stuff like that to just kind of blast healing and cover it with AoE healing. But, other healers, you probably would want to target the specific players and stuff like that. And on Priest, sometimes you need to target them too with Power Word shields and stuff. Here, same thing. The Ritualist is going to start casting, so we just throw our pet out, we Mind Blast, and then we're just spamming smites. As long as you either have your Mindbender rolling or you have Mind Blast active, then you're usually totally fine. So here we have Mind Blast, so I just Radiance, Mind Blast, and I can just Smite, even though that the Evoker's super low HP. He'll be fine through Smite. And here I get dotted, so I'm going to just press a couple defensives, just Fade and Desperate Prayer. And then now we Mind Blast for this next Tormenting Ray, which will only happen for a second before it dies. And now there's nothing else that really does damage besides to the tank, so we're just going to be throwing spells out, and then just in between casting stuff, we just throw a Power Word shield on the tank, just to help out with the tank healing a little bit. We're not going out of our way too much to flash heal him or penance him directly or anything, unless we feel like he's actually in danger. Oh, I almost didn't make that jump. And in this pack, we're mostly watching for the Web Mage when it puts its web on. I think we're just PIing the DK in this dungeon. When it does this bursting cocoon, so whoever it puts it on, we want to make sure that we keep them full HP by the time it goes off. And then usually what I do, I actually wasted my shield there. What I'll do, I don't know if it's going to do another one because they're bursting it so hard, but I will use Power Word Shield right at the end when the cocoon's actually about to explode, because you get a lot more value out of it there, because the only thing that's actually dangerous is the explosion that goes off if the player's not full HP. There, the explosion didn't go off because the Web Mage is already dead, so we'll do it on the next boat, and I'll show you. We're just sending Mind Blasts, so they'll be back up by the time we get to the other boat.
Only one more ship in the Dawnbreaker is ours again.
And then I'll start by dotting up some stuff. Then we'll go on the Web Mage, we'll Mind Blast, we'll Radiance, we'll use our pet, and now it's on the Rogue. So right as it's about to explode right there, I just press a Power Word Shield, and it helps them significantly be significantly more healthy than if you don't do that. Here we're going to get another one soon, so I'm going to Mind Blast again, I'm going to Radiance. And it's on the Rogue again, so we can throw a Flash Heal on him, Smite one more time, and then Power Word Shield right before it explodes. Yeah, he's nice and healthy. He did have to health pot there, which is unfortunate, but... Here I'm just using my Power Word Shield early, because he's just going to take damage from the dot and not the explosion. If the Web Mage is already dead, then they just take damage from the dot that's remaining on them, but not it won't blow up anymore. This boss, pretty straightforward. The biggest thing is you want to make sure you always put a Power Word Shield or something on the tank, so have upkeep spells on the tank for every beam right here. even if they have defensives rolling. And then other than that, we're watching for if he doesn't press any defensives, and that's when we use our Pain Sup, is if he doesn't have any defensives. And then now we're going to have the Burning Shadows, so we want to Radiance, Dispel, and then heal it. That's usually how I deal with it, is I use Radiance and then Dispel and then heal. That way I don't have to Dispel, then Radiance, and then heal. It's either way, it's kind of the same thing, but I just like doing it that way, because it's such a small heal absorb that you don't really need the burst healing from Radiance or anything. But like here, for comparison, this is us pressing Radiance second and then doing it. It doesn't really matter, but you can tell that some people drop a little lower HP than if we already have the atonements out on people, because it just takes a little bit longer to get going. And the big thing that we're missing is positioning. So positioning for each of the collapsing knights is actually really easy as a ranged. So here we're going to Radiance and then Dispel, and then I'll drop my pet and we'll Mind Blast. We have Power Word Shield on the tank already. Here, after every beam, the collapse is going to happen. So as the beam ends, we kind of walk out into range and then come back in after it drops. And now we're going to have the Burning Shadows. This is going to happen right as the intermission kind of starts, so we need to hurry and heal through it. Get everyone topped up. If the boss phases like this, you can no longer hit her. She's immune to damage, so your atonements won't do any healing. So you need to manually heal people with like flash heals and penance and stuff like that. You want that debuff off of everybody before they leave, otherwise they can die just to the passive dot damage that it does. And then this time we're going to get Collapsing Knight before the beam, so now we're going to sit out here in range and make sure we're not close to the boss. Then we can penance as we come back in.
5, 4,
and now we're going to have Burning Shadows.
2, 1.
I'm going to use Radiance, we're going to Dispel, and then we'll Penance. Get ready for the beam, so we walk in a little bit. We didn't Power Word Shield the tank there, that's my bad. And then now we're going to have Collapsing Knight again. So as the beam ends, we're going to kind of walk out towards the edge. Use another Radiance, we'll Mind Blast in preparation for this debuff. Dispel,
5,
and then we Penance 4, as the Rifts drop.
2,
Collapsing Knight drops. Then we shield the tank. He has a defensive rolling, so we don't need to use Pain Sup on him. I've had it off cooldown this entire time, so it wouldn't hurt just to throw it out there, but we're just going to save it at this point. The next pull can be pretty spicy. And then again, we're sitting out here in range because we're going to get the Rifts to drop.
5,
and we Penance 4, as they drop so that we can keep healing 2, while moving.
1.
Now we're going to have a beam, so we get close. Shield the tank. He didn't have anything there. I could have Pain Sup there, but he was nice and healthy and had a big Absorb Shield on himself, so it was more than enough. At least for this key level. Need to Dispel. We're walking out here for the Collapse because it's going to drop in kind of an awkward spot.
5, 4, 3.
And we Penance as it drops, or Shadow Word Death, the Refresh Dot. We're spamming again. This won't go off. Yeah, the big one there is help out the tank with each of the beams. It's not always their fault if they die. You can definitely prevent deaths a lot of the time. And then just make sure you're preemptively being ready for the Dispellable debuff that comes out, and Dispel it quickly and then heal everybody up as soon as possible, just so you don't fall behind on HP. And here this pull is pretty nasty, so we're going to target one of the shadows, ideally the one that we're not killing, because usually the group will kind of target one shadow to kill. And then we'll just use all of our cooldowns pretty much right away with the pet, a Mindbender, and a Mind Blast and all that stuff. That's just because it'll come back up by the time we actually need it, because these guys do... You basically want to watch this little flower icon that they have next to them. That's going to be the ability that they cast. That's going to do a lot of group-wide damage that you're going to want cooldowns for. So now I save my pet for when that's going to happen. And then when it's getting close, I'm going to drop Barrier. I'm going to use my Mindbender, and then I'm going to Radiance, because here comes the damage. We don't have Mind Blast out yet, but that's okay. Just Penance and Health Pot here, so I don't have to focus healing myself. We can fear these caster mobs just to help out, reduce a little bit of damage. And we're just Mind Blast, Penance, maybe throw a Flash Heal or two out with the procs that we have on people that are dropping low. Refresh a couple dots. You guys are still really spread out, so I'm just going to send Mind Blast and Mind Bender just to help out with the random damage that's going to be continuing to go out. That's pretty much it. The reason you don't target, ideally, the one that the group is killing, unless you're on a really high key level, is because it'll die while the AoE is happening, or before the AoE happens, and then you have to, like, retarget and do all that stuff. So for pugging, I like to just pick one of the shadows or one of the mobs in general that are in the group that aren't going to die before that. That way I can just focus on healing and not have to worry about like switching targets in the middle of it being a little bit dicey. And then on this little mini boss, the big thing is just healing the dots that people have on them. They don't really... You don't take any other damage besides just the dots, and the tank should be pretty much fine by themselves, but you can follow the same rule of like applying power and shield to them right as they get hit. But your goal is definitely keeping the people with the dot alive. Like here the rogue has it, so as long as he's healthy I can just keep spamming Smite, but if he starts dropping low like this, then I need to put like flash shield and a shield or penance and stuff like that on him. And then we can also LOS this ability, so if it's on me I'll just show you for an example. But you only want to LOS it if you do not have defensives. If you have defensives up, like right now I do, I technically want to take this, but I'm just going to LOS behind this thing, and then it just goes on somebody else. Like there it went on the DK, and he just AMS'd it instead. But generally, only use the LOS if you do not have a defensive available to use. Because otherwise it goes on somebody else anyways, and then if they don't have defensives, they're kind of screwed. And either way, on higher key levels, like melee are going to struggle with it just as much as range are. So like here, I let this one hit me. I just press a couple of defensives. I'm just going to save my... I know I haven't like pain supped at all this entire dungeon. I think I used it once on myself. But we're going to save it for the hard pull after this, because we're probably going to go to the orb mini-boss. We definitely want 2 pain subs for that, ideally. Now we have... let's say because we want to save our pain subs and I don't have a health pot, if it targets me, I want to LOS it. But I don't want to have to use pain sub on myself in order to live. Here we penance the DK, we can flash shield and then powered shield. That's a nice little combo. We keep the evoker alive here. He has like nothing at all, so we need to try to pump healing into him. He gets a spell ward, which is probably needed. There he had literally nothing to press besides a health pot. And then hopefully we're going to the orb mini boss. One I talked about when I was streaming one time, but I'm going to go over it again here. So the big thing here is the boss is going to apply the same dot that we saw on the last mini boss, and then also throw an orb out that is going to deal unavoidable group-wide damage. The thing to learn here is the only thing that's dangerous is getting randomly hit by Umber Rush. Hopefully I get rezzed and we can recover this. This is going to be a little rough though. Yeah, we're going to take it. Okay, you're going to try to recover, so I'm just going to pain sub myself just to help catch up. So when the boss throws the orb out, that one's going to hit the wall. Okay, let's try to talk about it again when we get back. Okay, so there's 2 debuffs that the boss puts out. The boss is going to put out 1 debuff that's just going to do ticking damage, and then the boss is going to send the orb out, and then send immediately another debuff. The person who's actually in danger is the person with the second debuff. So I'll try to like kind of talk through that so it's a little more visible. The first couple debuffs that he throws out aren't in line with that idea, but it's still kind of a similar thing. Oh, DK died instantly again. Just gonna use all our stuff right away. Put it on cooldown, and we'll be able to use it, you know, multiple times in this. Here we're gonna have the debuff that's out right now. This person isn't actually that much in danger as long as they're full HP. Orb goes out, he throws out a second debuff on this evoker. This is the person that is in danger right now, the evoker, because they're taking damage from not only the dot but also the orb exploding at the same time. So they're taking 2 sources of damage, 2 instances of damage. Like right here, the DK, he just has a dot. By the time the orb blows up, this dot is going to be gone. So we just keep him healthy, and then now we don't have to worry about panic healing him even though he's not full HP, because he's going to be full HP by the time that the orb hits the wall behind us. Who's actually in danger is the rogue, because he has an active debuff while the orb is exploding. Again here, evoker is not the one who's primarily in danger. because he's going to have his debuff fall off. It's whoever gets targeted right here. So now it's on the DK. So we need to watch the DK's HP. I'll even paint up him here, because that's the person that's actually in danger. And these dots that are on the Evoker now, that's just from the ads casting. So that ideally isn't happening a lot of the time. Here I just press a couple defensives for myself, but I don't want to use everything because I'm not targeted during... Okay, here I'm getting targeted by ads also. So now the Evoker gets targeted. I'm going to use Rapture and shield him. And do you see, like, after the orb explodes, the Evoker's the one in trouble. Everybody else isn't really taking damage. It's just the person who has that dot still on them. It's like we're like chain pulling a bunch of stuff in here, which is not super ideal when we don't have Lust. But we did get through it. Should still be fine with 10 deaths. Yeah, that's how you deal with that mini boss, is understanding that it's the second person targeted by the dot that's actually in trouble. So once the orb goes out, whoever gets targeted by the next dot while the orb is like flying, that's the person that you really want to focus on healing. The person just needs to be above, like, you know, depending on the key level, like 75% HP, and they're going to be fine. The other person is going to need constant attention until their debuff is gone. Here, we're going to target one of the shadows. Just going to throw everything on pole again, because by the time we have 30 seconds until they do their AoE, which is enough time for us to get our Mindbender back, we just use everything on pole. Use another charge of Radiance. I'm kind of watching the shadows and seeing which one is lower HP. The other one is, so we're going to stay on the higher HP one. That way we don't have to target swap when they start their AoE, if they do. Mindbender back. We have 10 seconds until the AoE, so now we're going to throw Mindbender out. We're going to Radiance. We're going to Mind Blast. That way it explodes during the AoE. And here comes the AoE, so we're going to use our Barrier. Going to use Paints Up on somebody who's not full HP. Use Fade for myself, so I don't have to worry about myself. And then there we go. Get through it. See, the other shadow died while the AoE was happening, if I'm not mistaken, which, if we're targeting that one, we're like absolutely screwed, because then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, I just Mind Blasted that one and now it's dead. So now I need to switch targets and then keep casting, and they don't have Schism on them, like they don't have the, you know, damage taken increase from me and stuff like that. So you just lose so much healing and you get so much downtime from it that it's better to just target one that isn't going to be the main target of the group. You can also target like one of these tacticians, for example. And then we're going to the last mini-boss, which is also pretty difficult. This is another one where he's going to throw debuffs out. The person with the debuff during the AoE right here. This one isn't going to have any debuffs out. But the person who does, that's who we're going to be wanting to heal. Here the tank is facing them that way, so we're getting on the other side of them, because the frontals will always go towards the tank. This person with the debuff, not in danger, because they don't have the debuff while the AoE is happening. This person right here, the DK, AMS'd it, but he would be the one who has the debuff during the AoE. That would be the person we want to primarily have our attention on. Use our stuff here, since we can. So again, Rogue has the debuff, but the AoE isn't happening, so I can just sit here and kind of passively heal him with my Mind Blast and Empowered Smites. And now the boss is going to throw another debuff out. It's on me, so I'm going to Paints Up myself. I'm going to make sure I have my little Flash Heal buff. And then I'm probably going to use Potion. I don't have Health Pot, so I can like Penance myself. And there we go. You see, I was spam healing myself with defensives and everything, and I was taking the most damage out of literally anyone. By far. Like, if I wasn't spam healing myself, I would have died. But everybody else was totally fine, because the damage isn't really that lethal unless you have the debuff and the AoE is happening at the same time. It's kind of a repeating theme across all dungeons and healing in general, is the idea that you die when there's two sources of damage hitting you and they kind of overlap together. That's what's going to kill us most of the time in Mythic Plus, is overlapping unavoidable damage patterns. So that's what we want to watch for. The single instances of damage, that's what you can usually just defensive through and be totally fine without even healing at all most of the time. But otherwise, we want to watch out for those overlaps.
5, 4.
And then this boss has some kind of unique overlaps, but the big thing is just healing through these shadowy decays. Like this first one's going to hurt really bad. We have enough stuff luckily to get through it, like externally, but otherwise this stuff sucks bad. So the primary goal is to have our Mindbender up for every single one of those shadowy decays. And we can kind of use Mind Blast usually twice in between, or once in between, and then once again on the actual shadowy decay itself. So like here for this Dark Orb, I can throw Mind Blast out, but I don't want to throw my Mindbender out until it's a little closer to the shadowy decay. Now I send Mindbender. I'm going to throw Barrier because we don't have a Radiance up yet. Then I can Radiance and Penance. We get through that, and now the next one is going to be the really nasty overlap where we get the Orb and the Shadowy Decay at the same time. That's probably the most dangerous one that we generally want Barrier for, but I just wasn't ready. So again, we don't need to panic here with our abilities or anything like that. We're going to save our Mind Blast for the actual AoE that's going to happen.
5, 4, 3.
Shadowy Decay
2,
isn't actually happening yet.
1.
It's going to be the Dark Orb first. And we're going to get ready for this by using
5,
Mindbender as we
4,
move,
3,
and then using Mind Blast, using
1.
Radiance, pressing defensives, and then using Pain Sup on someone. Probably should have done it on myself since I'm probably the squishiest target. But we make it through okay, and I still have a health pot. And the other interesting overlap that can happen, and especially in pugs you want to be aware of it, is these overlaps where you'll get this right here. As you can see, it's the Dark Orb into the Terrifying Slam, which means that the tank is going to take a lot of damage because he's going to get the Tank Buster
5,
as the orb is
4,
exploding. So like right here, the orb goes out,
2, 1.
and then the slam's going out almost immediately. So we Power Word
5,
Shield the tank.
4,
That's also probably a good time to use like
2,
externals if you're in an unorganized group, stuff like that. Now we have Shadowy Decay, so we're going to Radiance, we're going to press Fade. Penance. If I dropped any lower, I'd probably health pot, but we're totally fine. And here again, it looks like we're going to have the orb into the slam, or the shadows. I don't remember which one happens here. Yeah, it's the Tank Buster, so we shield. He uses bubble, so he's all good. There, I shouldn't have Mind Blasted, because there's nothing actually happening here, and we have the Shadowy Decay coming up, so I'm going to save my Mindbender.
1.
And then now I'm going to Mindbender with some defensives. I Radiance, Penance, I can Health Pot just to keep myself healthy. I would have been fine there, but I haven't used it yet, so just want to show it as an example. And here we have the Orb into the Terrifying Slam again. We're going to keep the tank nice and healthy, maybe Pain Sup in here, just in case it goes through. It does not. That's the idea, is looking for those really nasty overlaps and kind of getting a feel for them. The best way to break them down is just by kind of rinse and repeat, do the dungeon and see what happens, and see what overlaps when, and kind of just be aware of those sorts of things. But it's really understanding of like how to read when someone's actually in danger in Mythic Plus versus when they, you know, aren't actually going to take that much damage if they just press a defensive. Sometimes they'll be in groups where they don't press defensives. That's totally normal. That happens. There's still ways we can help and have some agency in dealing with that and stuff. Here, it's just like the first mobs that we fought in the dungeon. We're just healing through the Tormenting Eruption. It does a lot of damage, actually. So here we press a pet. This Evoker is mega dying, but he got Spell Ward, so that's good. Now we use Mind Blast for this next set of Tormenting Eruption that's going to happen. We use it early, that way it blows up during the eruption. You can also like pre-cancel it, I believe, and make it blow up, but I just have not set that up yet for whatever reason. Here we just Penance myself because I'm the only person with it. Then we end with a Power Word Shield. And then we're using Mind Blast, Radiance, and our pet. Here, one thing you do want to be aware of is Mind Blasting too late. Like, if you Mind Blast right now when the Architect's low HP, if you don't have something to cancel it, it will follow him over to where the boss spawns and pull the boss. So be very careful of that, of Mind Blasting the Architect when it's low HP. Because I have had my Mind Blast pull the boss before, and it is not super fun. It's the Mind Blast, the Rift will just kind of like walk its way over there towards the boss. Oh, I just accidentally pulled. With a smite, I was mousing over the boss. I'm glad that the tank noticed, because that was really bad. And then on this boss, we're healing through the, not the Rolling Acid, the Erosive Sprays. So there I just misused like all my abilities, because I read the wrong ability. But that's okay. So Erosive Spray is what we're healing through. So right here, we Radiance, we press a defensive. We can even like Paints up ourselves, since I don't have a lot going into this. And here we have 19 seconds until the next Erosive Spray, so that gives me time to use another Mind Blast right here and just kind of send it. We have Erosive Spray in 8 seconds, so we're getting ready for that. We can use like Rapture here to ramp for it, because we don't have that many Radiance charges. We have only one coming up. And then we will use our Pet, we'll Fade, we'll Mind Blast, and then we'll Radiance again, and then we'll just send Penance. And that should be enough to get through it as we spam Smite. And then if you want to help out a lot, the other thing that's lethal, again, we're looking for those nasty overlaps, which is going to be people getting the Rolling Acid. That's like the big wave that goes on them, while they have a dot on them from the boss, like either from their Erosive Spray or whatever. So when that happens, that's when we can like throw a Power Word Shield on that player if we have time, because it'll help them survive like that big burst of damage that they're taking from ticking damage from the Erosive Spray, and then also having the wave on them and have it hit them while they're taking damage. So again, one of those kind of overlaps that we want to watch out for. It can happen on this second phase too, so I'll try to kind of keep an eye out on it. A little tight on time, but I'm pretty sure we get this. I'm not entirely sure. You can stand here and hit the boss a couple times if you want. You can usually hit him like twice. Just refresh my dot twice just so it has maximum duration. And again, we're watching for those, in this second phase, it's actually, the Erosive Spray isn't the most dangerous. I would honestly say the Spinneret Strand is. But because we don't get the Erosive Spray for 30 seconds, I'm going to use my my Mindbender right now and just kind of full send it. That way we have it back up for when we actually want it. And then here we're just throwing a Radiance charge out. And we're saving Mind Blast for the Erosive Spray because there's no damage happening right now to the group. We'll use Rapture and just put some shields on people to refresh atonements. And now I Mind Blast. I use my Mindbender. We'll use our Penance, and then we're just spamming Smite into this. And as you can see, we're not taking nearly as much damage as we were on the boat. And then we have the Rolling Acid on the DK, so I just Power Word Shield him as it hits him. And then here we're going to Mind Blast. Erosive Spray, we Penance after using Radiance. Then we have Erosive Spray coming up, so we're going to save our Mindbender for a second. This one we can use Barrier, we Mindbender, we Radiance. Don't quite have Mind Blast up yet, that's kind of a mistake on my end, because I'm just not using it quick enough. So here I'll use Mind Blast a little bit early. Ooh, that Evoker almost didn't make it through. Rogue has the frontal, so we just do this. Or not the frontal, but the wave. I don't know why Plater is calling it that. Radiance here. You can use Power Word Shield on like the person that's lower HP as they come through. And then we Mind Blast here with our Mindbender. We'll Radiance again, just to refresh it. Have a better Penance. We're going to be a little dry going into this Spinneret Strand, but that's okay. Paints up one of the people targeted, so we'll paints up the Evoker here. Of course he gets a Spell Ward, but that's okay. It's just the unfortunate thing that happens with bugs. You're going to overlap some abilities. And Power Word Shield the DK. And then use Mindbender. And then Radiance. Just Fade for myself. And then we're just spam healing. Just use a health pot too, just to stay safe. Now we Mind Blast for this Spinneret Strand, that way it's back up for the next Erosive Spray that happens. Spam healing through this. Use like a Flash Heal proc on one of them. And now we're going to have Erosive Spray. So we're going to Mind Bender, we're going to Radiance, we're going to Mind Blast.
4, 3,
Oh,
2,
ended up doing the frontal first, that's unfortunate. And then we Penance, we'll use our defensives. Use a Flash Heal proc on the Evoker. It's going to be close, I think we got it. The boss should be dying. The boss should be dying. Nope. That's really annoying. I think, did they make it just to where he always dies at 60% now? Is that a thing?
2, 1.
Because he used to die... He should definitely be overkilled by now. I wonder if they changed that. Maybe I didn't look into that. We phased him at 64.2%, and it used to be... What was it? You would have to get him 4% lower than what he was at when he phased. So if he was at 64.2%, we'd only have to get him to 60.2. But I guess that wasn't the case, so I don't really know how it works. We don't get to reroll our key, but that's okay. That was still a good key to run, so I talked a lot, so I'm sorry if I ramble a little bit too much, but I figure since it's in like a VOD format and I'm just kind of doing commentary, it's easy enough to kind of rewind and check stuff out and look at things and kind of digest it a little by little, rather than, you know, expecting you to just kind of memorize everything that I just talked about in the dungeon. Just if you're having trouble with a specific boss, then you can kind of go back and break that down specifically. So hopefully that was helpful. And I should be back streaming after the weekend's over. Right now I'm just out of town. Gonna be going out of town after making this video, so I'll be back after the weekend and then I'll be streaming again. So come by the stream, check it out, and I will see you guys later.